CCC family, it's Dawn Marie with Custom Comfy Crochet, and today we're going to learn how to do this princess tiara, or you might want to call it a crown border. So this is a border for an Afghan, a blanket, or anything you want it to be a border for. You could do this for dishcloths, for napkins, I mean, just anything you can possibly imagine. So what it is little, as you can see, little tiaras with fabric glue. I glued a little sequin on each one of these, and I just got those at Dollar Tree. They come in different colors, and they had this light pink little sequin on here that I could put. So I just used some fabric glue, and as you can see, it just catches the light. But that's something you definitely don't have to do. But I did that for this. So I used a 3.75 millimeter hook. You can use any hook for this border that you wish that aligns with whatever pattern you're using. Just remember that it will make it look a little bit different. If you use bigger or smaller, just keep those things in mind. I'm using, I actually wanted to try some Dollar Tree yarn. I've never tried it before. It's not that bad. And I really loved just the little girl princessy look that was, has little palms and all the different pastel colors in this. So it worked up well for this little project that I'm doing. So, anyway, yeah. And also, you know, these borders can be used for scarves and shawls and things as well. But so I'm using that, and then I'm using this soft cotton yarn, and I can't remember where I got it from, but I'll figure it out and put it in the description below. But I'm using that for the actual border itself. So this is what I used for the swatch, and this is what I used for the actual border. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So here's my little swatch here, and this is in multiples of 13. And we do have some little puffs, but I think you'll be able to see it pretty well through here. And then we've got this yarn we're going to bring in. You might need a pair of darning needle and scissors. Obviously you'll need it for whatever project you're doing for your ends. Yeah, you might need that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go right into my first stitch here. Again, this is in multiples of 13. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to bring in my light pink color. And then right where I brought in my color, I'm going to put one single crochet. And then I'm going to do 9 additional single crochets across. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so that means I have a total of 10 counting that first single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And then we're going to do single crochets across again. And we're going to make sure that we hit this first spot right here, our first stitch, and do a single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, so just single crochets across, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Just like that. Then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, you're going to chain 4, 2, 3, 4. We've chained 4, and we're going to turn our work. And into the second stitch from the, so not this first one right here that's under our chain of 4, but in the next one, we're going to do a slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to skip your next stitch, and into your next, you're going to put a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 4 again. Then you're going to skip your next stitch and go into your next one. And again, chain 4 again. And you're going to skip your next stitch and go into your next. And then we're going to do our last one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip your next stitch and then go into your last stitch and do a slip stitch. So this is what it looks like so far. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains of 4. Okay? Then you're going to chain 1 and turn your work again. And then in this chain, first chain 4 space, and really all across, this is how you're going to do this. Into the chain 4 space, you're going to put 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now, one little tip I want to tell you on this little tiara is that you want to keep your stitches as tight as you possibly can so it can be extra defined. So if you're making very loose or sloppy stitches, which in some instances you need for whatever project you're working on, or you might just have a very loose tension, try to keep it as tight as you can for this, okay? Then I want you to go right in here where we did our previous slip stitch right there, and you're going to slip stitch again because we want to keep the definition of these, okay? So then you want to go into your next chain of 4 space and do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to slip stitch into this previous slip stitch from before. And that can be kind of hard to get into, but just get your hook in there and do a slip stitch. And then in the next chain 4 space, you're going to do 3 single crochets again. 1, 2, and 3. And then in our previous slip stitch, you're going to put another slip stitch. And again, 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then in the previous slip stitch, put another slip stitch. And then in this last chain 4 space, you're going to put 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And that yarn, look at that, it just totally split. This soft cotton yarn is very much like Karen's Simply Soft, which drives me crazy. Okay, and then right here in the side is where you're going to put your slip stitch, okay? So right here underneath where you did these chain of 3, you see a little stitch right there. That's where I want you to anchor this down to. So go right in there into the side, catching both loops, and do a slip stitch. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It's still going to look great, okay? Then I want you to chain 1 again, turn your work, and now I want you to slip stitch to the middle of that chain, the 3 single crochets. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. So I want you to go right into the middle there and do a slip stitch. And then I want you to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to do a picot stitch. So to do a picot stitch, after you chain your 3, you're going to go down to the first chain that you did, go through both loops, and do a slip stitch. Just like that. Then you're going to go into your next space, but you're going to go around the whole thing. So instead of going into the middle stitch like we did here where we went into the actual stitch, you're going to actually go around all of this work right here. So you're going to go all the way around it, pull up, do a slip stitch, then you're going to chain 3, and you're going to do another picot. So you're going to go down into your first stitch, going through both of those loops, pull through, and do a slip stitch. Then you're going to go into this middle space here. You're going to go around the whole thing again, do a slip stitch, and those might try to turn down on you that you did before. That's okay. You can just pull them up. Okay, so now you're going to go into your next space here, and you're going to do a slip stitch, just like that. And then you're going to do chain 2, and then you're going to chain 3 more. Hold your thumb right over your chain of 2, okay? And then, like I said, chain 3. So we did 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to do a picot stitch, but you're going to go down into that first chain you did of the 3. So you have 2 and you're covering that with your thumb. You're going to go down into this first chain of the 3, pull through and do a slip stitch for a picot. Then you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to do a slip stitch around this bunch right here. So put your hook through and do a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 3 and do another picot stitch. Go down into your first chain, pull through, okay? But now for this last one, we want to anchor everything down, so we're going to go into the actual middle stitch. So count over into your second middle of this, the second stitch of this 3 here. So 1, 2, so I'm going to go into the second one, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. And then I'm going to do another picot. So 1, 2, and 3, and then into the first stitch, chain there, I'm going to put a slip stitch. And then to hold this down and hold this into place, I'm going to go right around this loop right here and do a slip stitch. Just like that. Then I'm going to go down doing slip stitches. I'm going to go into my next space here and put a slip stitch. And in my next space and do a slip stitch. And then I'm going to do one more right here where we have our stitch there at the bottom. And then I'm going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1, 2, and 3. And now we can start another one. But let me just show you what it looks like so far. So I'm going to pull that up so it doesn't come undone. So this is what our crown looks like that we just, or tiara that we just made. Isn't that so pretty? Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do this one more time. Of course, you can fast forward. You can slow down the video in the description if you need to, but we're going to go over it again. But as you can see, we did our 3 single crochets. So now we're going to start over what we did just now. Okay. So that's how you get the count of 13, your multiples of 13, because this was 10, and then we do 3 single crochets to separate them. Okay. So, and that of course equals 13. So now we're going to start over. So we're going to single crochet across 10. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, then you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. And then you're going to do 10 single crochets across. So you're going to go right into this first stitch here and do a single crochet. So there's 1, and then across 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, just like that. Then you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you're going to turn your work. And in your very next stitch, not this one under the chain of 4, but the next one, you're going to put a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 4 again. You're going to skip a stitch, go into your next stitch, and do a slip stitch. And chain 4 again. skip your next stitch, go into the next and do a slip stitch. And chain 4 again. Skip a stitch, go into your next, do your slip stitch, and then your last one, chain 4, skip a stitch and go into your last stitch and work a slip stitch. And you should have 5 of those chain of 4s loops now, okay? So now you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And now it's time to work into these chain 4 spaces. So you're going to go right into your first space and do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then into the slip stitch that we did before, you're going to do another one. So you're going to do another slip stitch. And into the next space, you're going to put 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the next space right here, you're going to put a slip stitch where the slip stitch was before. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way across. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets in the chain 4 space, then slip stitch into the previous slip stitch, and again, another slip stitch, and then we're going to do 3 single crochets, and then right in this little space over here we're going to put a slip stitch just like we did before. Okay, and that's what it looks like so far. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And now we're going to start working on those lovely picot stitches that give you the ridges for your tiara. Okay, so into the third single crochet that we did before, you're going to find the middle here. So if you need to flip it over on its side, you can, because it's easier to see the stitches when you flip it over on its side. So I see 1, 2, and 3. So I know I need to go right here in this middle one, and I'm going to put a slip stitch there. And then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to do a picot stitch. So I'm going to go into my first chain. I'm going to try to go through both loops if I can, but you can't always. Pull through and do a slip stitch. Okay, that's what that looks like there. It makes like a little bump. Then you're going to slip stitch around this whole space here. So instead of going into the stitch, you're going to go under, pull up your work, and do a slip stitch just like that. Then you're going to chain 3 again, and you're going to go into your first chain, pull your yarn through, do a slip stitch so that we can make another picot. Then we're going to go in around this next space here, right here in the middle of the third one, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Try to bring your yarn up and over so it doesn't pull this picot down like it did in the last one. That's what was happening. So if I go down and pull in like this, it might pull it up. So just pull it up and do your slip stitch that way, okay? Then you're going to chain 2, hold that with your thumb, because we're not going to work through those chain of 2s. We're going to chain 3 after we chain the 2. I'm holding the 2 with my thumb because I'm going down to this first chain of the 3 that I just did to do a picot stitch. So I'm going to go right in there and put a slip stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2. Then I'm going to go into my next space and do a slip stitch around the whole thing like this. Then I'm going to chain 3 and do another picot stitch. So I chained 3. I'm going to go down to my first stitch there, pull through, and do a slip stitch. Now we're on our last space here. This is what it looks like so far. So I'm on my last space here, and now I'm going to anchor everything down by going through the middle of the actual stitch. So turning on its side, I can see 1, 2, 3. So I know I need to go right here into the middle stitch, do a slip stitch, and then do my last picot. So chain 3, go through this first chain and do a slip stitch. Then I'm going to go down into the side over here and do a slip stitch to hold everything into place. Then I'm going to go into this space and do a slip stitch. Then I'm going to go into this space and do a slip stitch. So I'm just slip stitching down. And then I'm going to go right here in the bottom and do a slip stitch. And then I'm going to go into my next stitch and I'm going to do 1 single crochet, go into my next, do another single crochet, and then go into my next and do a single crochet. And then it would be time to start over again for another tiara. Okay, so let me pull this out and show you. So once you get done, you can flatten it out, pull up your little picot stitches there. And you've just got a beautiful little crown. Now there is a back and a front to this. It looks a little bit different on this side because of where we did the 3, but it still looks pretty on either side. But you can tell a little bit of a difference, okay? But even these are a little bit too loose for me. Like I would like to do them a little bit tighter, but that's kind of hard to do on camera. But I still think they look really good. The sequins really adds something to it as well. And I place those, if you want to know, I place those right there underneath the middle of the tiara. So I wanted to still see this poking up. So I just put a little bit of fabric glue there and put the sequin right there. But just remember, if you're making this for any kind of child or a youngster, remember that those kind of things can pop off and end up in someone's mouth. So just be careful. Think about that before you do that, okay? But that's it. That's what it looks like, guys. I really enjoyed making this border up. As you know, I'm doing a series on borders. And I did a community post on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, you can go over to it. And that's where you can leave requests for borders that you're wanting to find or that you need. Or you can just, if you've got a great idea, you can let me know an idea for a border video. So I'm just trying to come up with all kinds of different borders. The next one I'm working on is a doozy. It's a mermaid. So that's quite a task to undertake, but I'm going to try to do it. I really want them to look good. So I'll be working on that now, and that'll be a video coming up soon. So please hit that red bell below and subscribe, like this video. And I'll tell you something that helps so much, guys, is if you can just share this video. It's the way that people get videos out, is for you to share them. Algorithms are a little off with YouTube because of the pandemic and all. So it just really, really helps for y'all to share. It means ever so much. And I will see you in the next video. Happy crocheting, guys. Bye-bye.